Good day, and thank you for joining us on a panel discussion on Recovery Month. During this panel discussion, we will get an opportunity to acknowledge Recovery Month and why it is celebrated during September, as well as the local focus in the Cayman Islands on women in recovery. We will also get an opportunity to have an honest discussion about the barriers for women in recovery, as well as the different events that will be taking place in September and how you can be part of Recovery Month and establishing a healthier community for everybody. My name is Miriam Foster. I work with the Family Resource Center, and here we have...
I'm Suzanne Clements. I'm the program coordinator for the Counseling Center.
And I'm Esther Taylor, the clinical supervisor at Caribbean Haven Residential Center.
Thank you, ladies. And Esther, can you give us a brief overview of what Recovery Month is about and the theme?
Recovery Month is a time when we celebrate persons who are in recovery. I don't know, being in recovery is not easy, and it's a lot of work to get to that point in a person's life. So it was initially started here, I think, about 8 years ago. We have, the last few years anyway, since I've been here, we've had lots of activities during Recovery Month because we want to convey the message to people that recovery is possible, that treatment does work, and that there are resources available within the community to help them. This year's theme, I can't say it. This year's theme is Join the Voices for Recovery on the pathway together on the pathways to wellness. Thank you, Miriam.
Yes, it's a mouthful.
Yes.
But can you tell us why do you think that theme was chosen?
Every year, since Recovery Month is internationally recognized and celebrated in September all around the world, obviously, they come up with different themes every year. And I think an important piece of this year's theme is that it takes all of us together to make recovery happen. It can't be just the person by themselves, just one person doing it. So it has to be a lot of, support in that process.
Right. And even in that theme, it's also important to realize that it's not just about quitting using of drugs, but actually looking at it as a multifaceted issue and how you can become healthier overall.
Absolutely. I think there's a huge difference between abstinence versus recovery. Mm-hmm. And recovery is about making a lot of lifestyle changes. And it's looking at all areas of life. It's looking at family. It's looking at the individual. It's looking at mind, body, and spirit, and really focusing on living a healthier lifestyle.
Right. And as Suzanne pointed out, it's important that as a family, we look at what it is that if we have a long line of, family members that are alcoholics or substance abusers, not only look at it as something hereditary, but look at what it is within the environment that allows this to continue to happen. Right? What it is that we can do as a family to ensure that even though this was our past, that maybe our present and our future is something different, and we don't just say, well, that's just the way it is. That's just part of our family. In working with individuals in recovery, what are some services that they can access at the Counseling Center?
The Counseling Center actually has a number of services available. We offer services specific for drugs and alcohol, but we also offer services for family counseling, parent-child conflict. You can come for individual counseling. You can come for couples counseling. You can come for family counseling. We have a walk-in service on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. In relation to coming, once you've come for the walk-in service, then we actually set up a next appointment for you that is whatever time you would like to come at, and we do a full assessment in relation to what are some of the issues you're presenting with. We have some specific groups for substance abuse issues. We have our intensive outpatient program, which is offered 3 times a week. It's a full 9 hours per week. We also have a relapse prevention group and an early recovery group that happen in the evenings for those clients that are working. We have our drug rehabilitation court group that happens during the day, specific to those clients in drug court. And that about sums it up. We also have our DUI program. That's usually, court-mandated clients that are referred because of drinking and driving, but we also assess them in relation to whether or not there's a need to start looking at changing their use.
Great. That is a lot of services. And I know that sometimes counseling can carry a bit of a stigma, especially here in Cayman. And I just want to share with you all that the counselors that work at the counseling center are a very amazing group of people that are very accessible and not scary at all. Sometimes when you're the thought of going to speak to a stranger, why would I talk to a stranger about my problems? I can talk to my sister, I can talk to whomever. But it's important that we take the time to not only talk about the issues, but look at what the root of the problem is as well. And sometimes a counselor can help you understand why it is that we keep making those same mistakes over and over, what it is about our lives that continue, why do we constantly end up here? And the counselor is really just an unbiased listener and can also provide you with some guidance, but really allow you to feel at ease to talk about things. And sometimes just releasing things and not feeling like you're being judged can be a healing all on its own. Esther, can you give us a little bit about the services that Caribbean Haven provides?
Caribbean Haven is the only residential treatment center on the island for persons who have substance abuse problems. We have a men's program, and we also have a women's program. Our program there is based on a therapeutic communities concept, which is not just counseling, but also a behavior modification type program. In addition to the residential treatment programs, we also have withdrawal management. It's a social detox program. If people come to us with, say, severe alcoholism, we would probably refer them first to the hospital to make sure that they're not going to experience any physical withdrawal symptoms like seizures and things like that, which can happen if you've been using alcohol for an extended period of time. So we have those programs there. In our programs, we have 3 different stages. We have orientation, which gets the client kind of used to the program. We also have primary treatment, which is primary treatment. That's when you really tackle the hard issues. And then the last portion of our program is what we call reentry. This allows our clients to maintain their relationship at Caribbean Haven with us and with their peers and still be able to go out to meetings, AA, NA, which is something that we introduce them to early in the treatment process, and look for employment so that they can start to gradually come back out into the wider community and be healthier when they do so. There is the men's program and women's program. There are similarities. However, there are gender-specific issues that are addressed with the women and the men. So those groups, some of our groups are co-ed, some are not. It's an intense program. It's not for everybody. I mean, it's a lot of work. And if people are willing to come and make the commitment, it can certainly be beneficial to them.
Great, thank you. And just to give a little information on the Family Resource Center, the Family Resource Center works with our sister agencies, the Counseling Center and Caribbean Haven, to sometimes we come in before in terms of prevention, or sometimes we come in after in terms of once the clients at Caribbean Haven are reentering, we provide them with support through either the Family Skills Program, which is a program that allows the entire family to come together and work on themselves and better their situation, improve lines of communication, and really understand where the other person is coming from. I think that is at the root of a functioning family, is understanding where each member is coming from. We also have family skills sessions that are offered monthly. We'll get to talk a little bit more about that in terms of Recovery Month. And we offer young parent services. which the reason I mentioned this one is because unfortunately a lot of young women that come through our doors that are pregnant have actually been engaged in some sort of, either substance abuse or some sort of addictive behavior that is not healthy for them or for their unborn child. And unfortunately, the child is now brought into this situation. And so with the help of the counseling center or, sometimes needing to access Caribbean Haven, we allow that parent to have access to a more holistic approach in terms of their well-being and bettering the chances of a good future for that unborn child. So there are a lot of services. We also have legal befriender service, which sometimes is necessary to figure out what the logistics are in terms of the kind of side effects of having someone that abuses substances within your home. And then we also provide crisis intervention. So if anybody comes through our door from 12:30 to 4 in the afternoons, they can get access. If you're thinking of, I think it's time to make a change and you're not sure where to go, we often encourage you to come to us because we can build you a good case management team and connect you with these great agencies as well as with other partner agencies and help and get you the help that you need. So with that being said, when we were talking about Recovery Month, one of the things that came up for us in terms of a strategic goal was really understanding why it is that women aren't accessing the services as much. Is it that women are just, clean and sober and they don't misuse substances at all and they're perfect and they're good to go? Or is there something else that keeps us from, as women, from accessing help and understanding what that's about, and how can we better our services so that women do feel comfortable, and how can we better our services so partner agencies will also reach out to us more? So before we get started on that, Suzanne, do you mind giving us a little bit of an understanding of what the differences of the way men and women present in terms of their addictions is?
Well, I think one of the most important things to note is the fact that, first of all, when it comes to treatment specific for women and men, we have always had treatment has always been defined in relation to what men's needs are. It's only really been in the last 10 to 15 years that they've started doing specific research in relation to the fact that women need something different if they are presenting for addiction. And some of the things that are very different in relation to for women is the fact that the majority of the time they are accessing services on their own. And especially here in the Cayman Islands, it's not very often that we're seeing women who are being referred for treatment. It's because they've made a decision that they need to do something different. And so in relation to the addiction component of it, there are not very many driving forces in relation to making the referral process happen, whereas men are very much referred from many different places. They get referred from the courts, they get referred from probation. There's some very specific things that are very different in relation to men and women's addiction around that, because the majority of the time men have criminal activity attached to it and potentially have charges as well. And whereas women, we're not seeing so much of that. And that's pretty, that's very common in the rest of the world as well. Some of the things that women are present with their addiction is quite different in relation to the fact that there's usually it's usually related to mood at times. Women are much more susceptible later on in life to experiencing depression and anxiety, and because of that they start to use substances to cope. A lot of times they don't necessarily use the street drug substances. Sometimes they will get involved with marijuana, and some women will get involved with cocaine, but alcohol is much more prevalent. Also prescription drugs. And here in the Cayman Islands, you can easily go to more than one doctor and get more than one prescription. and it can be highly addictive.
Well, that's very insightful. In my research a little bit about women and recovery, it was really interesting to take note the fact that it wasn't until the 1950s that actually women were allowed to be shown as having some sort of vice on television. So the idea of women drinking or smoking, that was just something not seen in the media. And that then caused women to feel a greater sense of shame when they did experience issues with substance abuse, because of the fact that they felt that no one else was experiencing. There was a lack of understanding that women experience things too, and it goes back to women feeling as if they have to be in control of it all. They have to be in charge of it all. They have to be super women. We always hear, oh, you're such a superwoman. You're a Wonder Woman. How do you get everything done? And a lot of times, you'd be surprised how many women are actually walking around with a great sense of shame or feeling of unworthiness because of the fact that they really can't get everything done, but it looks like you can. And so sometimes they'll numb their pain through substance abuse and not feel comfortable enough to share with others, because that would then show their lack of control. And so there is a great sense of shame attached with substance abuse, and it's really interesting to see how women's approach usually involves a bit of connecting. Like the successful treatment models show how they need to be able to connect with other people. They need to connect with their clinicians. They need to feel as if they're really understood, as well as understand that there's usually trauma associated with it. So you need to be looking at what it is that is at the root of that problem, understand what trauma may have occurred to get them to where they are. A lot of times it's, linked with sexual abuse or domestic violence, or, just parenting issues when they were young, or, something that oftentimes triggers it. And until that doesn't get worked out, it's really hard for them to be successful in their treatment.
Just want to say something else about the comment that you made about the 1950s. I think that one of the things that has happened in relation to addiction, and we talked earlier about AA being out there, and that's being a model for specifically designed by men. So I think a lot of what takes place is that women have to be responsible for so many different things, and men are not that they're not responsible for different things, but they're responsible in different ways. So women become responsible for children and the day-to-day living, and they have to take care of the little minute details, whereas socially, men are usually more responsible when it comes to the financial situation. And so what ends up happening is that as time has passed and we see more and more out there about addiction, it's usually attached more specifically to men. And so men are sometimes more supported in relation to the fact that they need to make change happen in order to provide for their family. Whereas women, if women have a substance use issue, they're a bad mother, they're going to lose their kids, and those are some of the fears that they have, and they could become realities, actually. Yeah. And it becomes a very, very scary situation for a woman to say, you know what, I have a problem, I need help.
And that message also goes out to our partner agencies that work with us in helping us have women access to help earlier, before they lose their children, before it gets so bad, allowing them to be linked to our services so that it doesn't have to get to that point, and that they feel that there is some hope, and it's not, they're just at the bottom, just nothing left to lose, so why not try to access help? What about you, Esther? What are your, why do you think men have much more access to help?
I think that men access help more. I don't think they have more access, but I think they access help more as a result of being mandated to engage in services. In other words, they have some kind of legal issues going on, or they've been arrested or whatever for either drugs, alcohol, or some crimes that are typically related to those, like burglary, robbery, and those kinds of things. So they get noticed a lot more. Women tend not to engage in violent type crimes, so they're not as noticed as men are. They kind of, as they say, fly under the radar a lot of the time. And so they don't get referred. That referral has to come from some of, like you said, the partner agencies need to be aware of the signs that someone's in trouble and start to make those referrals to the department so that we can get them in early rather than late, like Miriam said, before it's too late, before they've lost their children, before their relationships have all deteriorated and those kinds of things. So it's important for them to get noticed, for it to be recognized. And there are a lot of people that they come in contact with, even if it's family, friends, their workplace, whatever. People should be aware of what the signs are that they're struggling.
And actually, if you don't mind sharing what some of the signs are, I think it would be helpful to the audience.
If you have an employee, for instance, if you're an employer and you have an employee who has been a good employee, always comes to work, doesn't call in sick, doesn't do any of those things, and then all of a sudden it seems this starts to be a pattern. Late to work, doesn't come in, calls in sick, or makes excuses like, well, my kids are sick, or I have a doctor's, just a lot of different things. They make excuses. Plus, their productivity goes way down. They don't typically produce as well when they're struggling with that kind of thing at home. And usually, if somebody has had a bad night or drank excessively or been smoking crack or whatever, and they come to work the next day, they're not going to look quite tip-top shape like you might expect them to. Of course, it depends on the job that they have and things like that, but that's one thing the employer could notice. A family member, a lot of women tend to hide their use of substances, whether, like you said, alcohol, illicit drugs, prescription drugs, anything like that. They tend to be kind of secretive about it and keep it in the closet. But still, there are behavior things that happen that you start to recognize, like them spending time alone or going, well, I need to go do this or that, and it's like an everyday thing. So family members, even your children, should start to notice that there's something going on in their life,
Right.
because their behavior changes. I mean, there's no way that it can't change over time.
Right. And that's why usually then it becomes obvious. Then somehow, maybe Department of Children and Family Services gets involved because now there's a bit of abuse and neglect maybe happening
Mhm.
that then brings them to this. And so it's still not addressed. Then what's provided is, parenting sessions. But
Right.
you need to be working on that individual. And when it comes to wellness, it's important to not just think, it's Suzanne, it's Suzanne's problem, she just needs to get clean and sober and then we would all be fine.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's my problem too, because the way I react and the way I cope usually creates other issues for me, so I need to work through that out so that then I can be better, and then I can help someone like my brother or whoever it is. But I think that we need to be looking at it as the whole family system versus just, if this person would just, get their stuff together, this family would be better. And it's very quick to say, if this would just happen, then things would be better. But it's important that we look at what do I do and how do I react and what kind of, what other problems does it lead me to?
I think if we go back just a little bit and talk about some of the differences again, and you mentioned partner agencies, I think one of the most important things is that partner agencies, especially in relation to women, we all need to do better screening in relation to looking at some of the issues, because a lot of times, especially with women, the questions aren't asked, and they're not necessarily going to divulge that information unless actually asked the question. So although someone presents with a domestic violence issue or a parenting issue or something along those lines, if you don't ask some of the questions about medication and substance use, you'll never know.
Yeah.
You'll never know.
That's true. What else do you think that families can do to, kind of prevent and help a family, even, either prevent or cope with a family member who is abusing of substances?
Well, there's a number of things that they can do. First of all, to accept the fact that this individual has a problem, that it's not just a choice. They made this choice. They may have made a choice at one point in time, but now it's gone way beyond that. And a lot of people who've never had any problems with addiction or substance abuse really can't understand why people have that problem. And they look at it like, I had one guy say in a family group one time, well, they should just quit. That's what I did.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that. If you truly have an addiction or dependence on a substance, you can't just quit like that. I mean, it doesn't work that way. And so I think to understand what it is the key, to understand what it means to that person and understand that this is what's controlling their life right now.
Right.
They can be supportive of them getting help. I mean, that is a pretty key thing right there. They should support them, but not enable them.
Right.
And a lot of family members do that. They try to do all the work, and the person that needs to do the work is not doing the work. So that doesn't help either. So they need to support them, but also be firm, let them know that they're there to support them, and do whatever they can to help them. But there needs to be some expectations placed on the individual as well to do what they need to do to make some changes.
And I think that becomes really difficult in families because you have this relationship. If you have someone in your family that's using a substance, you have this relationship with that person, and usually what happens for families is all they want to do is be helpful and get that person off the drugs. And they're usually way ahead of that person in relation to even making the decision that quitting needs to happen, because they're looking at it from the outside and they see that, okay, I can see that this is happening, I can see that this person is using, they need to quit. So then what happens is they take this stance of instead of being supportive and asking them questions and really talking with them about what's going on, they take the stance of telling them what they need to do, lecturing them, and that actually pushes that person further away. And then they, there's, as we talked about before, in relation to substances, there is usually some criminal activity with that. So sometimes you have family members stealing from you and those types of things. So when Esther said, be firm but fair, it gets really difficult. But sometimes one of the best things that you can do is actually make a report to the police that something has been stolen, because the police will then make a referral.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that goes on to what Esther said about not enabling your family members, because the truth is that we do sometimes rob people of an opportunity to experience that negative consequence that might be the thing that gets them the help that they need.
right. Because as a family member, we want
them.
We want to protect them.
Yeah.
We want to save them. We want to
Right.
Fix everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want to fix
it for
things. Yeah, it's a lot.
Can.
And there is something to be said with also the way, Cayman operates, and these types of things sometimes are swept under the carpet and not talked about. Or, I know that for me, it was quite an adjustment to move here to Cayman and see the prevalence of alcohol everywhere, right? And it was interesting because I remember studying in class that there's functional alcoholism versus just regular alcoholism. A functional alcoholism is 5 or more drinks a day, and I can think of most people that drink right after work, they go straight to the bar and have 5 or more drinks. And there's people that can do that and they're fine, and then they go home and they're perfectly able to do their role and get to work on time and they're good to go. But then there's people that can't live that lifestyle. And if they've grown up in a family where alcohol is part of this family, so for you to say, I'm not going to be drinking alcohol, you don't know where you fit anymore. That's something to bear in mind, that sometimes we don't create the best environment for that person as well. And it's not to say that, we have to now abstain from that, but I think there's an element of sensitivity and an element of helpfulness that goes in understanding how that person could be feeling if they don't know where their place is going to be, if they're not, Uncle Johnny or Aunt Mary who who gets a little loose on Saturdays, you know. But that's the reality is that sometimes you're like, well, if I stop this, who will I be, you know? And
I don't know who I am.
I don't know who I am, right? And it's a scary thing to face, not feeling like you're going to fit in some way.
And I think a piece of that too is around the fact that when people use drugs or alcohol, and by the way, alcohol is a drug, it alters their mind and mood. So clearly there's something that's very pleasant about that altered mind and mood that you're experiencing when you're using it. And it becomes the norm. It's where you seem to function or think you function best. Maybe you don't necessarily, but that's what you think. I mean, how many of you have heard people say, I drive better when I'm drinking than I do when I'm sober? Well, we all know that's not true, but that's their perception in their altered state, that they drink, that they drive better. So I think it becomes, there's definitions of what a substance user, abuser, and someone who's dependent are. A user would be like what Miriam was talking about. Somebody goes out on Friday evening and has a few drinks after work, and other than that, everything is just the normal, everyday stuff. The person who abuses it is the person who goes out to have a drink or two and stays till they close up. So they can't, once they start, they just keep drinking. The person who's dependent doesn't drink necessarily to, or drug to feel anything other than normal. It becomes the norm for them. So they do it just to feel normal. It's not about feeling good or happy or, you know, numb or anything else anymore. It's just to feel normal. So it's very hard for some people to understand that. It really is.
And I think one of the important things about that too, Esther, is just the fact that you described 3 different situations, but it's important to remember that everybody starts the same way. Everybody starts with just going out just going out to have a couple on a Thursday night or Saturday night or whatever night it is, and it slowly progresses. And that's one of the scary things about addiction, is the fact that it is something that's progressive. It is something that you are living as you start to create it within yourself, and therefore as you're creating it, you don't realize that you are changing. It's all those people outside, externally to you, around you, that are watching you saying, wow, he has changed, or oh, she is really becoming different.
Right. Yeah. And also the idea that that it controls you, that you no longer have any control. It controls you. It dictates where you go, who you hang out with. It slowly starts to affect every aspect of your life, and you've slowly lost control to this substance, basically. Yes, so it is a very serious issue, and we hope that these conversations continue for the month of September, and that we really take a hard look at how it is that we can better the situation for men and women, but really take a specific look at women and how it is that we can ensure that they have access to help and to success of overcoming something like substance abuse, and get the help that they need. Because I think we all have a responsibility. You know, we keep saying partner agencies, but every one of us has a responsibility that if we see someone that is needing of that help, we don't wait for someone else to step up. We don't wait for someone else to get them the help they need. You never know who you're going to be for that person. You never know if it's you that they're finally going to listen to, and it's you that is going to help them make that change. But on that note, we want to get to some of the more exciting events that will be happening in September. Using the theme together on Pathways to Wellness, we're going to start with the Counseling Center. What event do you have coming up in September?
September 7th, it's the first Saturday of the month, and so the Counseling Center has organized what we're calling a kickoff to recovery. It's a family fun day. It's from 1 to 5. It's at John A. Cumber, and basically we're going to be playing kickball. That's going to be the main event. There's going to be some other things happening there. There will be a barbecue. There's going to be a collaborative art project where we're going to make our own collage in relation to all the people that attend. Everybody gets to put their mark on a painting. We're going to have music. There's going to be a bouncy castle. For those of you who don't know what kickball is, it is a game that can be played by all ages. So we're going to have mixed teams, ages 4 and up basically. The 4-year-olds may need a little bit of assistance, so parents will need to be there. But everybody's welcome. It's baseball basically is what you're playing. You're playing baseball, but you're using your feet. It's with a soccer ball. So if you know the rules of baseball, you know the rules of kickball. And we want as many people as possible to come out and support the idea of Recovery Month. So everyone in Cayman is welcome. If you would like to play kickball on a team, we're pre-organizing that. And how you do that is you call the Counseling Center, 949-8789. Give your age, name, some other basic information, and we'll set up the round robin tournament for teams. So, and you can actually make special requests. If you want your whole family on the same team, we can make that happen.
Awesome. I'm excited about kickball. I have a little bit of a competitive streak. Yeah. And then what else do we have for Recovery Month?
Okay, on September 20th, it's a Friday evening, we have the talent show. Last year was our first talent show that we had done during Recovery Month, and it was such a huge success, and we anticipate that this year will be even more so. And it's at the Harquail Theater. It starts at 7:30.
Yes,
7:30 p.m. And a lot of the acts, well, all of the acts are local, obviously. All of them live here. And a number of the acts are also, understand this is the important piece of this, are persons who are in recovery. They have a lot of talent, actually, when they get sober and they start to recognize that they have these talents. So we anticipate that it's going to be grand this year. We got some feedback last year. One lady told us, she said, I thought I was at a big show on Broadway or something. So I think that was a little bit exaggerated, but
I think that's because we were performing as well.
Yeah, and we all performed. Yeah, that was fun.
You get to see all the staff of the Department of Counseling Services make fools of themselves, basically.
I didn't get to perform.
Oh, well, that's just because you had an injury from practice.
So anyway, we anticipate that there's going to be lots of entertainment for everyone. So it doesn't matter if you're 90 or 9. It should still be fun for everybody. So we hope everybody will come out. I believe that there are still some openings for people to sign up if they want to perform for the talent show. They would need to contact Caribbean Haven at 947-9992, and we'll see what's left available for people that really want to get up there and show us all their talent.
Awesome. Very exciting. And we at the Family Resource Center, we have our monthly family skill sessions that we do the third Wednesday of every month. And so the 18th of September from 6 to 8 p.m., we will be exploring why do we numb? Get an understanding of why do we overeat? Why do we use substance in the first place? Why do we, self-medicate, sometimes cutting, eating disorders? What is it? What are the different things that cause us to that need to numb? This could be a very insightful conversation for families that are being affected by substance abuse or even obesity or different things in your family. And we're actually going to be watching a TED Talk. For those of you that don't know what TED Talks are, they're really awesome talks that are by different people that are successful in their fields, and they get to share their kernels of wisdom in about 18 to 20 minutes. And so there's this really great TED Talk that we'll be watching, and then we're just going to have a very honest discussion about it and hopefully get an understanding of why it is that we numb and how can we change that cycle that we get into sometimes. So that will childcare will be provided as usual, and there will be a light dinner as well, and that's 6 to 8 on the 18th of September. So lots of exciting events for the month of September. As always, any organization that is wishing to organize an event in honor of Recovery Month, we are always in full support of that. So you can call any of our agencies and let us know what you're doing so we can help you promote it as well. The only way we're going to be able to affect change is to work together and to also take responsibility for being part of the solution. So we really encourage everyone to come out and take part in the different events. You will get more information on some other events that will be happening in September from our agency, which is Peace Day. You'll get a chance to actually watch the Peace Day dance that's being created, and it'll be debuted at the talent show. And you'll get more information on Peace Day for the 21st of September. But any information, you can give us a call at any of our agencies or send us an email. I think everyone's revealed their contact information, but if you need anything else, you can find us in the book. So thank you, everyone. Are there any questions? Okay, great.
You talked about the various services that you offer and what people can do. And you also said that if you have referrals, suppose I'm a person that, is using drugs and I want to stop and I don't have a referral. Is any of the services offered free?
Oh, yes. All of the services are free, and you can come. That's what Suzanne was talking about, self-referral. The truth is that a lot of women that are in recovery have actually access to help themselves. You don't have to wait for someone to refer you. You can just walk through any of our doors, and all the services are free. Yes.
And we
What is
have
our motto? There's no wrong door.
right.
Yeah, there's no wrong door of entry.
We have a number of people that come to the counseling center that do self-refer. They
Yeah.
just walk through the doors when we're having our walk-in service, and they start working with a counselor that day. So you don't have to have an outside referral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we talk about referrals just because the truth is we're not working with everybody. We hear the different statistics and everything, and so we're not seeing it as accurately reflected in the clients that we service. So we want partner agencies to remember us and to think about us when it comes to the plans that they create for their clients.
And the other part of that is, too, that we want to reach out to other organizations and businesses in the Cayman Islands and say to them, if you have an employee that's struggling, please, we're here to help them. All we need them to do is come to us, because I think that is a piece of what we do that's highly underutilized. We just don't have a lot of referrals from, like EAPs or things like that. So there are a lot of people that are probably not accessing services that could easily do so if they had that, again, detection and support that they need from whomever.
Or sometimes we think that the only place to get help is to go overseas, as has been something almost historical in terms of any sort of assistance. We tend to think, well, we'll just go overseas. But there are things within Cayman. You don't have to leave your family for 6 months and, choose between, seeing your family or, not seeing them for 6 months. You have something on island that is accessible and free for your access. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Suppose I have a girlfriend that is alcohol abuse, and how can I say to her, look, I think you need to go get some help, but it'll make her feel bad.
Well, the first that you wouldn't want to say, I think you need to get some help. What you would do ideally is say to her, I'm concerned about you. And start it from a place of how you're feeling based on what's happening with her. And then, go at it from that direction and give her an opportunity to say whatever she has to say. But I think it's important for you to express your concern about what's going on with her. Obviously, if we have friends, which most of us do, and we really care about them, we need to be honest with them about what we're observing with them.
Right. Yeah.
And say, you know what, there's lots of places where you can go for help.
I think, and then in that conversation, have talk to them about that they're not alone, that they're, and then that you can understand where there's an element of shame or things that come into play. So allowing them to know that a lot of people experience these sorts of things, and the important part is now to get help instead of, hiding it and feeling like you have everything under control, Yeah. Okay.
To stop using substances of any kind is a huge lifestyle change. And it really changes, like we said earlier, it changes where you go, who you go with. It changes a lot of things in your life. So it isn't just about, okay, I'm not drinking anymore, or I'm not using ganja anymore, those kinds of things. It's about, not only am I not doing that, but I no longer have the same relationship with the people that I had relationships with. So it's a very difficult thing to do because it's so much more than just the drug or alcohol use.
And the truth is that it takes a lot of courage, because you're basically making yourself very vulnerable, and maybe there's been something that you've been masking for years. A lot of times there could be child sexual abuse or various types of abuse that maybe you've used this substance to cover up and to try not to think about, because you never felt supported enough to speak up about that. And so it could be a very scary thing, and you'd be surprised that sometimes how our body has a way of blocking things out, where that person that is addicted may not even realize that this is why. It's until they start getting into treatment and until they start uncovering all these bits, where all of a sudden that could come out, that there was this trauma that happened that caused me to feel the need to feel numb all the time, or use drugs to feel normal, as Esther said.
And I think one of the things to understand the whole concept of, we hear it often, just quit. And it's the fact of just quitting. It's, you don't just quit something. If someone was to ask you to quit, to stop a behavior in your life, it's probably going to take you a number of times, if it's become a habit for you, before you're actually successful. And I think that's where it gets confusing.
Right.
A really good analogy that I like to use in relation to this, especially with family members, is the fact that, okay, so you want to make a lifestyle change, you want to change the way that you look, and you want to change your appearance, and you want to lose weight. That's not something that you can do overnight. That is not something that you sit down, you make the decision, and you make it happen because you pick a routine and you stick to it ongoingly, and you see the scale and it goes down, 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 down. It doesn't work like that.
It'd be nice.
It would be very nice, and we'd all be extremely thin.
Yes.
But it doesn't work like that. Behavior change takes time, it takes mistakes, and that's what relapse is about. People relapse because they don't have all the answers. They use drugs to cope with something else that's going on, and they need to then learn new coping mechanisms to deal with whatever it was helping them cope with. And sometimes they can't do that in a week. A lot of times sometimes it takes months in order for them to be able to figure out what it is that they need to do differently in a healthier way. So that's the best analogy that I can give in relation to
which what
that
Suzanne
kind of
is
change.
and Suzanne is touching on a very important point, is the fact that sometimes we hear people say, "Oh, you're quitting again." Yeah, I've heard that before. Instead of supporting them and understanding, that it's hard and that it's going to happen over and over. I mean, even when it comes to domestic violence, a woman will leave up to 8 times before they finally leave. So what Suzanne is saying is very true, and us understanding that will then allow us to better support our friends and family and not see it as, it's something for me, because I grew up in, surrounded by addiction. I always felt, why is it that my dad can't choose me over alcohol? Why can't he choose me over gambling? Am I not important enough to him? And so that was very much something I carried for a long time. Like, why do I not matter enough to him? Now, working in the field, I realized that it wasn't really him, and it wasn't even a choice he was making. It's the way I had set it up in my mind.
And it really does. I know a lot of people say things to us sometimes about the clients that we have, and well, how many times have they been in treatment and those kinds of things. But the reality is you never know when the right time's going to be. You see people come through the doors. A couple of years later, you see them come through the doors again. Sometimes a year later, you see them come through the door. But you never know. And when you finally get to the place where you start to think, you know what, I don't think they're ever going to get it, they surprise you. They actually get it, and you're just like, oh, I'm so happy. They are actually, they got where they needed to be. And a lot of people believe that in order to really start and commit and do what you need to do to stop using drugs, you need to have hit bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not true, because bottom for some people is death.
Yeah.
And all of those substances can kill you. And so we want people, I don't care if they have to come back 15 times to treatment, at least they're not dead yet, so there's still hope.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of that, just around that, is that if you think of addiction in relation to the fact, and this isn't permission, but relapse is a part of it, okay? Clients have to experience those situations. They need to relapse. Just like when you're going to the gym and trying to lose weight and you eat the piece of chocolate cake and the next day you say, or the whole cake, the next day you say, okay, I'm getting back on track. How did that happen to me? What was taking place? What was that about? That's exactly the process that needs to happen in relation to somebody who's struggling with a substance use issue. Sometimes it takes using and then looking at that use to figure out how do they do this differently next time. So although they may come through our doors 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, the reality is they learn something along the way every single time that they do that. And so we're helping them build what they need in relation to making that, eventually getting to that place of finally changing. I think as professionals sometimes we want it to happen for them so badly that we don't want it to take that many times, but it just does sometimes. And we're no different here than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Addiction treatment is the same all over. It takes multiple times and multiple goes, and people have relapses, and it's from those relapses that they eventually get to a place of entering into recovery.
Well, they get stronger.
Yeah.
Right.
They get stronger every time. So
Great. Any other questions from our audience? So we invite you, September 2013, to join the Voices for Recovery together on Pathways to Wellness. We have September 7th, the kickoff to recovery, September 18th, the family skills session, Why Do We Numb, and September 20th, the talent show debuting all the talents Cayman has to offer. So please join us at all of our events. You can call us at 949-0006, 949-8789, and
947-9992.
Thank you.
And one last thing, it's all free.
Yes, free events for everybody.
Events for everybody.
Yes. So we look forward to seeing you all.